Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are heading into the Miami Grand Prix, our first of 3 home races in MyTeam F1 23 career mode. If you did miss the last episode, please go check it out. It was a pretty horrendous race on my part, definitely a race to completely forget. Hopefully able to bounce back from that, and I'm aiming for points this weekend, really hoping I can get some good points or just any points for my home crowd. But as you saw, before we went into the activities list, we actually lost some team acclaim from the previous episode, and with the activities we just did some aero or team building for the aero team, some upgrades, some tire blankets, hopefully helping with some tire wear as well as some durability for the ICE. Hopefully we are able to get those, not obviously this weekend but the weekend after. Jumping over to some facilities, we're actually going to be upgrading two parts of our aerodynamics team with the build time and quality time. I was actually thinking about doing just the fabrication as one major upgrade, but decided to do two to kind of split it up a little bit evenly. So hopefully we're able to get those upgrades in, not this weekend, but the weekend after the Miami Grand Prix, and hopefully into, I believe it's the Imola Grand Prix. But on that note, guys, let's head into our first qualifying session of this MyTeam career mode. Hopefully we're able to qualify in a good position, but we are actually going to kind of compromise our qualifying session a little bit, because as you can see right here, the race is going to be completely soaked, 100% rain all throughout the race. So definitely have to compromise our qualifying run. That way we can get a better chance in the race. Like I said, 90% all across the board. But before we actually head into qualifying, let's go ahead and look at some of the R&D progress. Not a whole lot of upgrades brought this weekend. Looks like Alfa Romeo brought a few just to bump up to us. Looks like McLaren was able to jump Mercedes and Ferrari. But other than that, not a whole lot of upgrades. It looks like minor upgrades, no major upgrades this weekend. But on that final note, let's head into that first qualifying session of the weekend. Looking for a good spot to start the race in with the heavy weather. So on that note, again, let's head into it. Looking at the beautiful Miami circuit. Hopefully we are able to get a good starting position. Jumping right into the action. We are at the end of our first flying lap in Q1. Like I said before, we are going to compromise our qualifying performance for the race, since the race is going to be completely wet, monsoon conditions. But as we come across the line, Fernando Alonso is going to be on provisional pole, and we are actually 4/10 behind him. So not too bad on my part. First time driving this track. Didn't really fall in love with it to begin with, but as I got used to it, I definitely enjoy it, except for that middle sector. That middle sector is Henry's. Anyways, jumping for our second flying lap, we're going to be coming across the line. As you can see, we dropped down to P13. Hopefully we're able to gain some positions. Actually, JK, we are starting our final lap of Q1. Just got to keep you on the toes there, guys. But going through turn 1, kind of missing the apex a little bit. As you can see, we are up on the delta, just very little. Big snap of oversteer, got on the curves just a little bit, which is going to upset the car and make us lose just a little bit of time. But as of right now, we are on the limit of possibly being knocked out of Q1, as we actually have a bunch of traffic to contend with as we head onto the back straight. As you can see, we are not even a tenth up, but hopefully we can get some assistance with slipstream on this back straight. As you can see, we are swirling in and out of the traffic, trying to get a clean lap, almost touching the wall. But as we come into the beginning of Sector 2, we are actually down just ever so slightly. So we are hopefully able to gain a little bit of time, but not a whole lot. Stuck up behind Albon, coming through this middle sector that I absolutely hate. Trying to get it on the, or nail it on the head as much as possible, but it is so slow. But within that middle sector, we have actually gained almost 4/10 on our previous lap time. So hopefully we're able to open DRS and go flying down this, not, I guess, another back straight, but there's so many straights on this track, it's hard to keep track of. Heading into this hairpin up 4 tenths, trying to get a nice and clean exit, not getting on power too early to lose the rear end. But as we come across the line, we are up to P11. Hopefully that is able to keep us within the fight of possibly making Q2. And as we look at the results, Max Verstappen ended up on provisional pole for the Q1 session. As we scroll down, it looks like we're actually going to be able to make it into Q2 for our home Grand Prix. As you can see, Kevin Magnussen actually has a 5-place grid penalty. Not sure what happened there, but a big knockout of Q1 was Carlos Sainz all the way down to P18 in the Ferrari. That is not what he's going to want in the pursuit for the Drivers' Championship. Hopefully he's able to, take that position and turn it into something better than it was before. But on that note, let's head into the second part of qualifying. We're going to instantly jump into our end of our first flying lap. Did the flying lap on the used softs, just trying to get a benchmarker and hopefully able to improve upon that, of course, with the fresher, newer tires. But as we come across the line, we are actually going to be only P9, obviously, with the not so new softs. So hopefully we can put us up a little bit better than that. But as you can see, as we are coming to the end of our warm-up lap on the brand new softs, if I can speak, I'm all the way down in P16, so hopefully we're able to, gain that position back and maybe possibly look for an opportunity into Q3. But as we head into turn 1, you can see we're already gaining time with these brand new softs, going a little bit wide on the entry of turn 1. And we are definitely pushing the car to the maximum of our abilities. Already 2 tenths up within the first sector, coming through these fast S's on this track, just carrying the speed as much as possible, especially this corner, just letting the car roll through, get on the power as soon as possible. By a big snap of oversteer, and that actually ruins our lap. So we're actually going to back off, since we do still have a little bit of time to make it back to the finish line to start a second flying lap, save the battery. And as we come out of this hairpin, we are going to be lighting the tires up, and we are going to be going for it yet again, looking for that Q3 appearance in our home Grand Prix, second Q3 appearance in a row. But like I said before, we were already up on our previous time in turn 1, trying to keep the car in a straight line, getting the power down. Felt really good over one lap. Like I said before, this car feels really, really good over one lap, but over a race period with heavier fuel, it's definitely something to contend with in a struggle. But as you can see, qualifying is complete with George Russell on provisional pole. We are already up 4 tenths, which is going to skyrocket all the way to even more time. Actually, lose a little bit of time. Don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, but coming on this back straight, looking for the braking zone, heavy braking zone here, all the way down into second gear, letting the car roll into this middle sector. Like I said before, do not like this middle sector, but somehow I am able to keep the time up. As you can see, I'm almost 4 tenths up on my previous time. Just getting it nice and slow and easy, letting the car roll through, already 5 tenths up. As we come out of that slow middle sector, we are almost 6 tenths up. So hopefully this time that I'm gaining right now, we're able to jump up into possibly P10, hopefully make it to Q3, but we will see very shortly. Heavy into the braking zone of the hairpin, letting the car roll through again and trying to get on the power as soon as possible, but yet not lose the rear end. As you see, we are already 8 tenths up as we come across the line, DRS wide open, and we are only going to come home in P13. That was an unfortunate event. Could have gotten a little bit more time out of the car, but with the setup the way it was, I'm not really too worried about it. So as you can see, as we look at the grid for at least Q2, George Russell is on provisional pole, and actually Esteban Ocon is going to have another 5-place penalty. Not sure what happened there, but no major knockouts except for Oscar Piastri and maybe Lance Stroll. But hopefully we are able to use this position to get a good launch into possible points for our home crowd and for our very first points of this career mode. So on that note, let's head into the Miami Grand Prix.
Welcome to the Miami International Autodrome, home of the Miami Grand Prix. This exciting track circumnavigates the Hard Rock Stadium, home to the National Football League outfit, the Miami Dolphins. Well, it's certainly not sunny here in the Sunshine State. A lap of the Miami Grand Prix features 19 corners and 3.36 miles of track around the Hard Rock Stadium. But these conditions should prove especially difficult for all of our drivers today. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Leclerc, Norris, Russell, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Albon, Oscar Piastri, the owner driver, Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Joe, Sainz, Sargent, De Vries, Drugovich, Bottas, and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
As you can tell, complete monsoon conditions here at Miami, Florida in the United States at the United States Grand Prix. As you saw with the grid sequence, we actually gain a position with a penalty involved, so that puts us up into P11. Strategy-wise, pretty simple one-stop strategy. Wet tires all the way since it's going to be completely heavy rain for the entire race. Underfueling the car a little bit since we are going to be saving so much fuel during the race. Probably could have saved or brought the fuel down just a little bit more, but hopefully we are able to make some positions up, possibly head into the points. First time driving in the rain on this game, so hopefully we are able to make the best of it, warming the tires up as much as possible, trying to get a good starting position. And, you know, with it being our home Grand Prix, don't want to take any chances, but yet also want to put on a show. So, not going to lie, head into turn 1, going to be looking for a move into the points. But as the rest of the grid lines up behind us, as we sit here completely soaked, we're going to go to 5 red lights here at the Miami Grand Prix. And 5 red lights are out, and away we go. Getting a pretty timid start. Actually going to lose a little bit of time to Stroll behind us, but we're actually going to look on the inside of Albon and Piastri as Stroll looks on the inside of us. A little contact by Lando Norris. We are going 3 wide into turn 1. 2 big contact with Piastri, but we were able to hold on to the car and not overdo it into the wall as we check for some damage, and luckily there's no damage to report. I thought we would have lost a front wing there, but luckily, like I said, no major damage to report. We just lost a few positions. Technically net gain 1, or net gain 0, I mean, since we are still in P11. But coming on to this back straight, taking it nice and easy. Don't want to put the power down and have the rear end kick out even more in the rain. But this is where the car is going to shine throughout the entire race, is on these straights with this Red Bull power engine behind us. And the upgrades that we've brought for the powertrain, we are going to be gaining positions or gaining time on the straights, but yet through these slower corners, especially through this middle sector, definitely going to be losing a lot of time. As long as we can get good exits out of these slow corners onto the main straights, we are going to be looking pretty good. As you can see, we are kind of gaining a little time on Piastri and trying to get a good launch. But as you can see, as we look behind, we are going to leave Albon and Tsunoda in the dust, but that is going to be pretty much it for lap 1, net gain 0. But as we head on to lap 2 on the back straight, going to look for a possible overtake on Stroll, but a little too far back, but we are gaining time on him and Piastri in the braking zones as we go through this middle sector, nice and easy, nice and slow. In my opinion, definitely ruins the lap, but you know, I don't get paid the big bucks to worry about designing tracks and so on and so forth. But as we come out of this middle sector, right up on the rear end of Lance Stroll, trying to get the power down as much as possible. We are well within the slipstream. We're going to use our battery since we don't have DRS, since it is raining. We're going to possibly look for an overtake on the inside into the hairpin, move out of the slipstream, and it looks like under braking, he's going to come across and cut across, move to under braking, but luckily we were able to sneak our front end up on his inside, and we were able to make that position as a big snap of oversteer, trying to get the car under control, get the power down as soon as I possibly can. But it looks like Stroll is going to be coming back. We're going to be going defensive into turn 1, late on the brakes, and we are able to hold off Stroll into turn 1 and into turn 2. On that note, let's hopefully keep him behind us, but yet gain more time to the McLarens in front of us. Going to go a little bit defensive through this part of the track, but really not an overtaking point of especially in the wet, since it is so slow and it's very slippery. Going a little bit wide here, but nothing too major to report. Keeping Stroll behind us, a big snap of oversteer, making contact with the wall, but luckily no major damage was done, as we are going to get swallowed up by Stroll, and maybe even Albon's going to get involved. But as you can see, we are using a ton of battery to pull away from those two. Hopefully not able to for them to make a move into this corner, late on the brakes, and we actually overshooted just a little bit, running off the road just a hair. But it looks like Stroll is going to be able to tuck in behind us through this middle sector. But this is actually going to make us lose even more time to the McLarens. Like I said, this car in race pace with heavy fuel does not feel the greatest, especially with the wet conditions and wet tires. It just feels so understeery, it doesn't want to turn, and it feels like a boat, and it pretty much is a boat in the rain. But jumping forward to lap 5, we are able to extend the gap to the cars behind, and actually there's a yellow flag behind us, and a safety car is deployed, and it looks like one of the Williams may have spun. Was it Albon that was under pressure from Sainz? As we go to a replay, it looks like he gets on the power a little too much, and the rear end just steps on. He's not able to catch it. As we go to his onboard, he's just feathering the throttle, and yeah, he just spins it. Luckily, he didn't get major damage. He only knocked his front wing off, because he could have easily been out of the race. But as we jump forward to the end of the safety car period in P9 as Perez pits, we were trying to get on the power as early as possible, but it's very difficult in these conditions. Being early on the brakes, don't want to smash into the rear end of the McLarens. But as you can see, it looks like Norris is going to get a little out of shape here, and maybe Piastri's looking for an overtake. Not really going to hold up Perez. If he sees an opportunity to overtake us, I'm not going to hold him up. He's not in our race, not really worried about him. But as you can see from what Mark is saying, he's telling us to use plenty of battery, as we are getting this part of the track all wrong, as like I said before, Perez is going to sneak up on the inside, and I'm not going to fight him. He's not our race. He's nowhere near us, so we're just going to tuck in behind them, use his slipstream for our benefit. As we come into this heavy braking zone, not really looking for an overtake. Like I said, just going to leave him be, but on second thought, I'm going to throw it up on the inside of Perez and almost make major contact with Oscar Piastri, but luckily we were able to get away with no damage. Kind of catch the Red Bull napping a little bit. I know I said I really don't want to fight him, but hey, it's my home Grand Prix. I'm going to put on the show for my fans. So as we overtake a Red Bull in the heavy wet conditions on lap 8, hopefully we're able to possibly look for another overtake on the same lap into the hairpin on Piastri, well within the slipstream, using all the battery that we want down this back straight, pulling out of the slipstream, doing a little bit of a dummy, late on the brakes. Hopefully we were able to swoop around the outside, almost rear-ending Lando Norris. Got on the brakes a little too late, and which is going to put us under pressure from Perez. At this point, I'm going to let him go. I know he has better traction. He's on newer wets, and hopefully he's able to track down the McLarens, and we were able to pounce on some free positions. But unfortunately we actually go a little bit wide through turn 1, 2, which is going to put us turn 1, 2. It's going to put us under pressure from Esteban Ocon. That's one thing I was having trouble in this race, is my braking zones. Even though I was braking earlier than what the racing line was telling me to, I was still overshooting the corner. but hopefully we're able to keep Esteban Ocon behind us as we take it nice and easy through this corner, trying to get the car nice and straight before we hammer down and use all the battery that we want saved, and hopefully maybe look for another overtake on Perez. I mean, really too far back right now, but we never know, as it looks like Perez is going to make a move on Oscar Piastri, as we are just a bystander yet again, outbraking ourselves. And luckily we were able to, not make contact with Perez and make any major damage on our car or his car. But we are gaining a little bit of time through this middle sector, just taking it nice and easy. Don't want to spin the rears up and lose grip on the car. But as we come out of that slow part of the track, we're going to put the power down and again use as much battery as we want saved, since we have so much saved. And it looks like Perez is going to be making another chance on Oscar Piastri. It looks like he's going to be ahead of him before the braking zone. Maybe looking for an outside move on Perez, or on Oscar Piastri, but it looks like Perez wasn't able to pull it off, as we are still under pressure from Esteban Ocon. And right now our tires are not looking the best or feeling the best. We're losing a little bit of time to the cars in front, as you see, going way deep into turn 1 again. Turn 1 was my biggest problem on this track, and it looks like Esteban Ocon was able to get around side of us. Hopefully we were able to have the grip on the outside, and it looks like we do, as we put the power down a little bit before him, almost loses the rear end and almost went to the wall, but we were able to hold on to that last points position. Like I said, it's our home Grand Prix. I'm going to fight tooth and nail for these points, or any form of points in this Grand Prix. Definitely losing time to Oscar Piastri and Sergio Perez in front of us. It does look like Perez was able to get in front of Piastri, but with that in mind, we do still have Esteban Ocon behind us. Looks like he fell back just a little bit as we almost go off the track. Actually, we do fully go off the track, trying to get back on the track and kind of cut across Esteban Ocon. Like I said before, I don't know what was wrong with my braking zones, if it was too much fuel or just not braking early enough, or I don't know. But as you will see throughout this race, I was having so much trouble on the braking zones, out-braking myself, and I felt like I was braking early, but obviously I wasn't braking early enough. But anyways, on these straights, I'm able to keep Esteban Ocon and the cars behind us at bay. But on these braking zones, it's where we are losing time, hand over fist. Hopefully we are able to keep them behind us as long as possible. Get a little squirrely through that hairpin exit. Again, big snap of oversteer as we're trying to get the power down, going defensive into turn 1 as Esteban Ocon looks for a move on the outside. Going to try to make it nice and clean. Hopefully we're able to keep the position, but it looks like he's coming back a little contact there as we go side by side through turn 3 and 4. It looks like we were able to put the power down a little bit before him as we get another snap of oversteer, but we were able to catch it. And yet we are going side by side again through these slow S's, but it looks like he's actually going to have to back out since I kind of oversteered in front of him. And whew, I need to catch my breath. Hold on. Give me a second, guys. But on that, we are actually able to keep 10th position and pull a little away from Kevin Magnussen onto lap 11, coming out of the hairpin, trying to get the power down nice and easy. But again, a big snap of oversteer, trying to get the rear end planted as much as possible. And we will cross the line onto lap 12. Going to go a little defensive into turn 1, but yet again outbrake ourselves and just miss the apex completely. That's going to invite Kevin Magnussen, and all the while we are again losing time to the cars in front of us, but that's not our main priority. Our main priority is holding on to this last points paying position, again going super deep on the brakes into the hairpin, making a little contact with the wall. Luckily, no damage. I will say we were getting very lucky with damage, even though it was on simulation damage. We were able to not get a whole lot of damages, or any damages at all, if I know what I'm trying to say. Again, going super deep on the brakes, and like I just couldn't get it, as Kevin Magnussen looks on our inside, but we were able to have the traction and put the power down better than he was able to and actually hold on to P10. But as we come through to this braking zone, I'm going to actually outbrake myself yet again, and that's going to invitate Kevin Magnussen up on my outside, but luckily I was able to squeeze him out, and I was able to hold him off for at least another lap. As we come back onto this back straight on lap 14, we actually have Kevin Magnussen right behind us, well within our slipstream, using all the battery that I can. He's going to pull out onto the outside, and we are going to be ever so gentle on the brakes, that way we don't go flying off the track. He gets ahead of us, but he makes a little mistake, a little contact right there, a little wheel banging, but luckily I was able to keep it on his inside and able to protect P14 or P10. But as we come on to lap 14, 15, we were coming into the pits to change over onto new wets, and I make a fatal mistake. Another penalty, another speed lane penalty, and that has really ruined our chances for points today. As well, another mistake with the pit crew, that once things go bad, they go to worse. But as we come out of the pits onto lap 16, 17, we are going to try to put this behind us and try to focus on the race as we go deep yet again into turn 1, not having the race that we wanted, not having a great second half of this Miami Grand Prix. We're going to try and, big snap of oversteer, got on the power a little too early, and that actually lets Valtteri Bottas go by. And as you can see, we finally do have some front wing damage, and yet, like I said before, bad, worse to awful. But on a positive note, with this damage to my front wing, the car actually felt a little bit better. It felt more agile than it did in the first stint, so hopefully we can use that to our advantage. I did say I wanted to box this lap to fix that front wing damage, but as I went through this lap, I realized that the car felt better than before, so I just decided to tough it out and see what we can do, and hopefully, even with this 5-second penalty, hopefully make up some more positions and maybe make it into the points. But as of right now, it's not really looking like it, as we kind of stayed out on the first stint a little bit longer than probably what we should have, and we actually lost some time. But as we come down to this final straight, we are well within the slipstream of Valtteri Bottas, and we may look for a move on the inside or outside, using all the battery we want. I'm going to throw the dummy and possibly almost outbrake myself, but we were able to slow it down just in time. As you can see, I was not going to come in this lap because I decided, might as well tough it out. It's not that big a deal. It's not like it's red or anything for the front wing. But hopefully we were able to gain some time back and possibly look for maybe P10 at the best. But jumping forward onto the middle of lap 18, it looks like we are sticking with Valtteri Bottas and also gaining some time on Tsunoda, but yet Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari is right behind us, completely out of position. As you remember, he qualified down in, I believe it was P18, and he is making his way back through the midfield, trying to get up to that top 10. As we look for a move into the hairpin on the inside of Valtteri Bottas, moving under the braking is Valtteri, but we were able to sneak down the inside and push him wide, and that was able to put us up into P13. Hopefully we're able to hunt down Yuki Tsunoda here soon, but again, with that 5-second penalty, it's not going to be the best of news for us, since this is kind of not really useless as we go wide again into turn 1, and as you just saw, Carlos Sainz was right beside me, so I just let him go because I knew there was no way I was able to keep up with him, especially with that 5-second penalty. So I'd be losing more time if he kept behind me and was kind of like forcing me into a mistake. And as you can see, my car right now, for some reason, is just not wanting to work. I know I said earlier that the car felt better, but on this lap, it's not feeling very good. But we're right on the tail of Valtteri Bottas, looking for an overtake. Some major contact right there, some major wheel banging. Don't know why he kind of swerved to at the last second to block us some more contact, and we are going to be heavy into this braking zone. Try to swoop it around the outside, try to stay on the track as much as possible. It looks like he's actually able to hold it on the inside and kind of cut right in front of us, so that's going to slow us down even more into the path of Nick DeFries and Logan Sargent. But as of right now, we are just trying to hold on to this position and possibly look for overtakes. But like I said, with this 5-second penalty, I'm not too sure. But as we jump back into the action, we are going to be looking for another overtake on Valtteri Bottas, well within slipstream, pulling out to the inside. We are well within, alongside him, and even before we really hit the braking zone, we are ahead of him. Hopefully not overshooting it, kind of overshooting the apex just a little bit. We are able to park it on the apex as well and hold off Valtteri for at least a few more corners. Going to go a little bit defensive into turn 1. As you can see, he's a little back there, but with how turn 1 has been going, as you can see, yet again, turn 1 is my kryptonite today. I don't know what is going on in turn 1. I just can't get my braking point down as we go side by side, but he decided to back out of it. But so far in this race, there's been some pretty good battling, some pretty good racing, wheel-to-wheel racing, but on my end, again, not getting the car in the groove of things like I was in the very first few laps of the stint. And for some reason, I'm just losing time to Valtteri and to even Nick DeFries behind, and that little small group behind. But as we come onto this back straight, looks like we are going to try and defend from Valtteri Bottas. Don't have to defend a whole lot since he's not as close as I thought he was going to be, but completely outbraking myself again and trying to rejoin the track and make some big contact, and I end up spinning. This is a joke, right? This has to be a joke. And then I get another 5-second penalty on top of that for making contact with Stroll. What is going on? Is it just my luck?
Pitting this lap then, coming to the
Like
pits
what?
at the end of this lap.
My home Grand Prix, and I have a 10-second penalty? This is a joke. But as we jump to lap 27, Esteban Ocon is actually out of the race, and we are able to get a safety car deployed. So on this same lap, we are going to come in, serve, I was thinking, our 10-second penalty, but it looks like it's only going to be a 5-second penalty. Don't know why it didn't serve 10, but it was only 5. But at that note, again, pit crew mistakes. I really need to look into possibly making the pit crew better, because that's twice. Honestly, it's pretty much every single time there's a pit, or every time we pit, there's a mistake. But as we jump forward to lap 25, we're at the end of the safety car train, gaining on the guys in front of us. We have brand new wet tires, so that is going to actually give us a pretty big advantage for the remaining 4 or 5 laps of this race. Hopefully we can use these tires as we make a major dive bomb on Lance Stroll out of nowhere, way too far back. But yet he left us the room, and I was not going to second guess that. Still looking for points, still really wanting to get that P10, but with this 5-second penalty still over our heads, it's probably not going to happen. But right now, what I really want to do is focus on driving and putting on a performance for the home crowd, as we're going to look up on the inside of our teammate Felipe Dragovic, and he leaves us the room, very well respected, and we were able to pull away on the back straight, and hopefully able to track down Albon and Zhou. With only about 4 laps, 4 laps left, we are putting these new wet tires to use, and we are going all out. Even like I said before, even with that 5-second penalty, I am just going balls to the walls, putting on a show for the home crowd, for my home race, one of my 3 home races. But I'm ready to make some overtakes and kind of redeem myself, as we're right up on the rear end of Alex Albon through that very slow middle sector, and we are actually able to possibly look for an overtake of 1, 2, maybe 3 cars down into the hairpin, get a good launch using all the battery that we have in the tank. Gonna pull out to the inside of Alex Albon. He's gonna go a little defensive, spot our breaking point and maybe even go for a move on Joe, and very late making some contact with Nico Hulkenberg, but luckily we got away with no damage whatsoever. That was very close, kind of a little over ambitious on our part, but we were able to get 2 positions in 1 corner, and we are instantly putting our sights on Nico Hulkenberg, looking for a possible overtake down on the inside. A little frosty there, doing a little too much, being a little too aggressive. Looking back now, I probably should have waited, but in the moment I was just fired up. I was ready to get in front of these guys as we look for a move on Logan Sargent, our fellow countryman, on lap 27 on this back straight. Lewis has a pretty decent straight line speed, and we are going to go heavy into the braking zone, trying to swoop around the outside of him with that tire advantage, and we are actually able to and have the apex through this middle, I guess it's the grandstand section you want to call it, and through this slow middle sector. So we are up into P15, and we are jumping right back onto lap 28 for another overtake on Nick de Vries. It looks like he's going a little bit slower, and with these new wet tires, we are hoping to make an overtake on this back straight into the hairpin, maybe even sooner, depending on how well we get a launch on this back straight. As you can see, using all the battery that we have, squeezing us to the wall, but we are able to get our elbows out and kind of push them away. Again, wheel banging right there, so major contact, but I'm not going to give this position up, not in front of my home crowd, as we go around the outside of Nick de Vries, as we did with Logan Sargent. He's still there, he's still giving us a good fight, but he decides to tuck in behind us, and we are off in some clean air, hopefully able to track down Valtteri Bottas. But within the last lap and a fourth, so about last lap, I don't think we will be able to catch him. So at this point, we're just trying to break that 5-second penalty barrier. But as we come through on the last lap out of the hairpin, Max Verstappen is going to come home to win the Miami Grand Prix. It's not going to be points on our end, but it's going to be a solid P16 from where it was last race to this race. I'm more than happy with this. Definitely wanted points, but I will gladly take this in front of the home crowd.
Victory for the team from Milton Keynes then, after a quality performance. Tell me, Ant, how do they manage to achieve this win?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everybody at the team.
But with the very first Miami Grand Prix in the books, our very first home race, Max Verstappen is going to come home to take the win, with Lewis Hamilton in P2 and Charles Leclerc rounding out the podium. As you see, we come home in P16. If it wasn't for that 5-second penalty, we would have been P14, so not too bad. Definitely a lot better than what we had last, honestly, ever since the beginning of the season. So I will gladly take this. It's not really what I wanted, but it's the right step forward, to say the least. Fernando Alonso coming home in P6, that's some pretty big news. As we jump over to the driver's standings, Max Verstappen is going to extend his lead ever so slightly, but it looks like Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton are actually level on points for P2 in the Drivers' Championship. And yes, we are still last without scoring any points. But jumping over to the Constructors, we are still last, but it looks like Red Bull are able to extend their gap even more. And yeah, on that note, I will say it's not like I said before, it's not what I really wanted for my first home Grand Prix, but it's a step in the right direction. So on that note, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next episode.